Department of English. So in this class, we are going to, for the last time, discuss some important topics from your course. It is presumed that you have got the time and you had the opportunity to go through the self-learning material provided to you. And besides that, we have had almost more than 10 classes, counseling classes to clarify your doubts and answer your questions. And one last time in this final online class, we'll be looking at
syllabus completed, sir.
Yes. Syllabus completed to an extent, as I repeated last time as well, that the time that is given to us doesn't allow us to go through each and every topic provided in the self-learning material. Yes, but at the same time, we try to discuss major topics so that it would be easier and useful for you to appear for the examination and write the exams with proper information. Okay. In this class, what I will be going to do, what I am going to do is actually take you through the syllabus once more in a very brief way, and then from each block we'll take up few important major topics and see if, how best we can write about those topics in the examination if it is passed. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Am I clearly audible to you, or do I need to?
Very much clearly audible, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. If you, before I actually start with my topic, so I request you to take your books in your hand if you have with you. That is a course book.
Yes, sir, we took.
Yeah, please just follow with me so that it will be easier to look at different topics that I am asking you to mark from examination point of view. Okay. If you look at the table of contents, we realize that there are as many as 22 units, right? And those 22 units have been divided into 5 major blocks, and each block is a concept in itself. Like for example, block 1 it talks about different topics which is within the theme of some language as a discourse, whereas block 2 discusses topics under the theme language of literature, whereas block 3 discusses various topics under the theme language and literature. Language 4 similarly discusses two topics basically under the theme of language and narration, whereas the last block, that is block 5, talks about various topics from especially from Indian rhetorical and cultural point of view under the theme of language and literature, cross-cultural differences. What I'll be doing is I'll be taking you through each important topic in every block. Okay. So right now I am on page number 5. Okay. If you have the book with you, please locate page number 5, and there our first important topic can be spotted. On page number 5, you see that Grice 1975 suggests that conversation is a collaborative enterprise guided by what he calls cooperative principles. Now, cooperative principle is the first important topic that I think would be relevant for your examination. So you please pay attention to this topic. Okay. Are you able to locate that?
We haven't got it. So in page number 5, there was an organization of discourse. Something
before that, just before that, the paragraph that starts with Grice 1975. You got it?
Yes, sir. It's just about the organization of discourse.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. Mila.
Exactly. So the topic is actually cooperative principle. If you find this particular expression, cooperative principle, as a question in your examination, you should be writing about this concept. Okay. Who has given this concept and what are the 4 different maxims that are discussed under cooperative principles and all. Okay. And it would be much better if you read the whole topic, that is discourse and conversation, and keep this particular cooperative principles under that context. Okay. Otherwise, if you write about these 4 different maxims and explain it in your own way, that would also suffice. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Shall I move on to another one? There are as many as 20 different, 18 to 20 different topics that I what we say I could find in your SLM, which would be of importance to you from examination point of view. So we have 18 different topics to discuss today. So I'll try to go a little faster. Okay, and if the time remains towards the end, then we'll make use of that time to come back to any of the topic that you want me to discuss in detail. Is that fine?
Sir,
Okay,
excuse
sir.
me, is this the
Yes,
last
sir.
class?
Absolutely.
Yes, Ramu, you were saying something.
Sir, is this the last class, sir?
As per the schedule, this is the last class, I guess, right? If you look at the okay, we have a few more classes that is scheduled on 16th, 17th, and 23rd. Okay, we have 3 more classes. So anyway, even if we have 3 more classes, we'll make use of those classes to come back to these topics and discuss them in detail. Okay.
Yes,
That's
sir. It's
fine?
better if you again recover it, sir.
Sure. So since I have planned to talk about important topics, I'll just mark those things so that you can make note of that and prepare accordingly. And when we come back again for the next classes, which are on 16, 17, and I think some other date. So at that time, we'll discuss any of the topic which we have pointed out, which we have noted. Okay. Okay. Second topic is actually on page number 6, which is about which is with under the heading of organization of discourse, right? There are certain characteristics which makes a discourse as a discourse, right? When we say something as a discourse, there are certain criteria which we actually taking into consideration. Right? If you are calling somebody as a hero, right? So you actually look for bravery, right? Generosity, right? and masculinity, or good physique and all, right? Those are the characteristics that help us to identify a hero. Similarly, when we call something as a discourse, right? Any piece of what we say text as a discourse, right? Or a spoken thing as a discourse, then there are certain characteristics that help us identify what discourse is and what is not discourse. So those are the things given on page number 6, and starts from second paragraph. Actually, it actually starts from first paragraph itself, right? It is actually features of discourse. Okay? A piece of discourse is larger than a single sentence. But at the same time, there are certain more things required for a sentence to be more than a sentence to be called a discourse. What are those things? If you look at the same page number, you have 3 different things given, right? Cohesion, coherence, and relevance. And
Yes,
those who attended offline classes, they know that I discuss these things in detail. Okay, so you have to talk about these things under organization of discourse, and give what the definition of a discourse, and also talk about these 3 different characteristics. Okay, so anything that any question that asks you to write about discourse, you please bring these points into the answer. Okay, am I clear?
yes, sir.
So that was the topic 2, right? Organization of discourse. Now, if we jump to page number 11, right? On page number 11, there is the concept of rhetoric. Rhetoric, right? This is most repeated question from your syllabus. So what basically you have to do is give a definition of what rhetoric is. For example, you should start with saying that rhetoric is derived from the Greek word rhetor, right? And a rhetor was a teacher of rhetoric or professional orator. And one more definition of a rhetoric is rhetoric is nothing but it's an art of persuasion, right? To make somebody believe in your ideas and thoughts. So that art is called rhetoric. Right? Like for example, in order to win hearts and minds of Indians, our Prime Minister makes use of his speaking skills, public speaking skills, and he connects immediately with us, and he makes us believe in the vision that he has. Okay, so he is able to do so because of that this art, right? Art of rhetoric. He is able to persuade us to believe in certain things which we would not otherwise easily believe. Okay, so you have to talk about these things and try to also give the background in which this art has developed, right? It basically developed in Syracuse in Greece. Okay, if you read through these passages, you'll understand the history in which this art has come up. You also supply this information in your answer, and moreover, you can also distinguish between dialectic and rhetoric, which is also given on page number 13. So whenever you are asked about rhetoric, you have to answer, give the definition, different definitions of what rhetoric means, and then you have to give a brief backgrounder in which this art has come up, and then also talk about Aristotle and that the definition, the distinction between rhetoric and dialectic. Okay. This was the topic third on rhetoric.
Rhetoric.
Yeah.
Rhetoric isn't it a speech generally which is employed in writing essays or making speeches? Like as you have already reconnected with saying that PM Narendra Modi, like when he addresses the gathering or the people of India, like he uses rhetoric in his speech, right? So isn't it a figure of speech, sir, or it is more than that? Like as we see now on page 11 and 13, beginning of rhetoric and ancient times like Aristotle rhetoric and Socrates rhetoric. Like
Sudha ma'am, your voice is not audible at all.
Okay.
Yeah, what she's trying to basically understand from us.
So, sir, rhetoric is a figure of speech.
If it is an art of persuasion, then what are the things that can be used to persuade people? Yeah, the whole language is at your disposal, and yeah, different literary devices and figures of speech play a major role in persuading people. Not only that, it's also ideas that actually also matter in persuading people. Ideas as well as specialized usage of the language. These two combined together can produce a remarkable outcome, remarkable result. For example, I'll give one example again from the popular Prime Minister, that is Narendra Modi. Whenever he has to address to the nation, he says, "Bhaiyo Behno," right? So this particular use of the expression "Bhaiyo Behno" helps the speaker to immediately connect with the audience, right? Irrespective of the age, irrespective of the region, irrespective of the culture, irrespective of the various languages, right? So this is a very planned way of doing it. It's an art actually. He's been maybe advised by somebody, or because of his long political career, he might have understood that this is how I can convince people. So behind this is a science that we call as rhetoric. Yeah, we'll move on to next topic. We are done with the
Sir,
topic.
excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, this is Bala, sir. Good afternoon,
Yeah,
sir.
good afternoon.
So, should we mention Peter Ramu's rhetoric statements also, sir?
You can give any example. You're free to do that. Whenever a question is asked of you to write on rhetoric, you define what rhetoric is and you tell in what circumstances this has come up as a new art, right? And how this rhetoric is employed in Middle Ages, now in modern ages, also in contemporary times. It's all your choice. Okay. Yeah. So from there, we are jumping to the topic 4. As I told you, we cannot discuss all the topics in detail, but I'll be giving you a brief overview so that you understand. And in the classes that are scheduled in April, we'll have the luxury of time to take up a few of the topics that we are marking today or noting today to discuss in detail. Okay. Yeah. So I'm jumping to topic 4, which is on page number 21. Are you on page number 21 right now? This is again one of the topics which is repeated quite often in the examinations. It's called speech act theory. Okay, so this theory is actually given by J.L. Austin, a British philosopher, okay, and a language expert. And after that, his disciple or his a fellow language expert, John Searle, who advanced his concept of speech act theory. So basically, speech act theory is being worked on by 2 people. It's actually given by J.L. Austin, and later it was modified or enhanced by John Searle. So whatever it is, you have to talk about both in the answer. If a question comes upon speech act theory, you have to tell who has given this theory and what are the essential ideas in this theory. For example, traditionally it's been thought that language is used to make statements, right? Pass on information.
So we need to mark 3.4 and 3.5 both.
Yeah. Because both are speech act theory only. Both are under the speech act theory only. There are only the difference is there are 2 different philosophers who have worked on that, or language experts who have worked on that theory. And if you have understood what the original proponent of that theory, that is J.L. Austin, has said, then it would be easier for you to also accommodate views of John Searle. Okay. This theory, so I was saying that language is traditionally been taught as a means of communication, where you pass on information, okay, using the language in the form of various statements that we make. But then comes this J.L. Austin. He says that no. In fact, we make use of language not only to pass on information, not only to make statements. Rather, we also use language to do things. Okay, and that is why he explained all these things, right? How we make use of language to do things in his book. That is how to do things with words. You please mention this book also, name of this book also, when you're talking about speech act theory. And he says that if you turn to page number 22, that there are 3 different acts that we perform. Those are locationary act, allocationary act, and perlocationary act. I have actually discussed these things in our offline class also. If you read through this, you will understand. Okay. For example, if I'm talking to you, right? I am actually performing 3 different acts. Okay. How? Number 1, locationary act.
Locationary act.
That is, the act of saying something. I'm explaining you something, right? Like speech act theory, I'm explaining to you. So that is what is actually locationary act. That is the first act. Second act is actually if I say something, like for example, have you understood the first point?
First point understood, sir, but after reading the 3 points, we are confused. What does it mean?
Yeah. So first act is me explaining you speech act theory, right? And second is your response to my first act. So that is what is actually allocationary act. isn't it? When I am saying that, have you understood point one? So to that particular act of me, you are responding. So your response is basically a locationary act. Okay, and as a result of these two acts, there's something that is also happening. Right? So that is actually the third one.
So repeat third one once again.
I'll give you one more example. Okay. For example, you have failed, or I'll say get out. If I'm saying get out, right? So what J.L. Austin is saying is that we are not only making use of language to say that sun rises in the east. It's a statement. We actually do things using language. For example, if I am saying that you are fired, I'm making use of language to do something. So what kind of act you are performing? He says there are three different acts a person performs. Right? Number one, the act of uttering. If I'm saying something, I'm performing one act, that is locationary act. And the second one is, as a result of me performing something, some action is happening on you. You are understanding it and reacting it in some way. That is second act. And third one is, since you understood what I am saying, that I asked you to get out, you are going out of the classroom. Isn't it? If the umpire in a cricket field says out, so the person to whom it is directed at, what he'll do? He'll go out of the ground. So his going out of the ground is the third act according to J.L. Austin. Are you following me, or is there a confusion?
That might be the third one, no, sir?
Yeah,
second one. Going out will be the second one. And the consequence, that is another player coming in, is the consequence. That is per locationary act.
Okay, I think somewhere either I am not very clear, or
yes, sir, because
understanding.
written something is different and you're saying something is
yes,
different.
Sir. Could you repeat it again, sir?
One second. I'll make use of the
Sir, excuse me, I'll put it this way. Is it correct or not what I have pursued? Would you please?
One second. Let me explain it through our way here. Are you able to see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You are fired is a statement, right? This is one. It's two. This person is nothing but is a speaker. Okay. This person is listener. Okay. This is third. Understood. So first one is locationary act. This is called locationary. Second one is allocationary. And third, last one is per location. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So the very sentence itself is a first act, because I'm saying something, right? Those words, whatever I'm making use of is actually a locationary act. And it is said by a person. In uttering that words, in uttering that sentence, I am performing an act as a person. So that is a locationary act. And since I uttered this to communicate to somebody else, right? That is the listener. So that listener, as a result of listening to my utterance, is reacting. Like if I have said you are fired, he listened to it and he went out of the company. So that is what is per locationary act. This is according to J.L. Austin. So 3 kinds of acts are being performed. These are the 3 different kinds of acts. Fine.
So that means the exact words are locationary, and
the words are locationary. Yes.
The way they are uttering is actually illocationary.
Yeah. And in uttering that, the person is performing an act. That is locationary.
Right.
Yeah.
And next, the
effect of that.
Yeah. Effect of it is location.
Exactly. So whenever,
right?
Correct. So whenever you are being asked about this different speech act, you please mention about John Searle, his concept of performative acts, as well as these 3 different acts that can be performed using language. Traditionally, it was thought that you can only share information in the form of different statements. But he comes and says that we can do a lot more with the language. Actually, in fact, we perform different acts using the language, and that's how he explained. And also some details about performative acts are given. He subdivides performatives into 5 different categories. That is verdictives, excitatives, commissives, behavioratives, and expositives. You please just go through that and also include that in your answer. Okay. And then you can write you can also mention about John Searle, saying that it is Searle who actually took up the theory of J.L. Austin, and he also redefines few things. Okay, more or less what Searle says and what J.L. Austin has said doesn't matter, differ much. The difference is only in the way they have organized these things. Okay. So, but you have to mention about John Searle as well in your speech act. So with this, we are done with the topic 4, important topic 4. So we are jumping to topic 5, which is on page number 30. If you open page number 30, you'll find Jacobson's speech event, factors and functions. Are you able to look at that?
Sir, I have a doubt in this. Can I say, sir?
Yeah, please.
Sir, considering that poetic functions, sir, can idioms and proverbs come under poetic functions, sir?
Did we discuss poetic that topic?
I didn't attend the class on Saturday, sir.
No, you cannot randomly ask something. No? I'm also a human being. I'm actually in a flow to discuss different topics, and I'm going in that flow. Suddenly you ask something, completely from somewhere else. I'll be at loss, right?
I'm sorry, sir.
I thought you are asking about that speech event, or you are going to ask about speech act theory and all. If there is something related to the flow in which we are, I can explain that. Otherwise, once we are done with noting down these important questions, I'll take up. Even if it's poetic function of what is the poetic function, according to Aristotle, what is according to Plato and all. We can talk about that, no doubt. But please, let us just note down these important questions as quickly as possible. Many times, all the students don't get time to attend the class. So I specifically for this class, I informed that
Yes,
I'll be talking
we
about
missed
different
the
topics.
classes, sir.
Yeah, so I want to respect their attendance. We'll take up whatever questions you have towards the end of the class. Okay.
Okay, sir. Fine.
Yeah. So so next topic that we are talking about is Jacobson's speech event. Okay, which is on page number 30. Please mark it. Now, Roman Jacobson is again a philosopher, especially who worked in the area of literature and language. He took the concept of or the model of basic communication. In a communication, what are the important players or things? You have a speaker, you have a listener, right? For communication to happen, you need a speaker and a listener. Okay, and there should be a medium in which the message is being transferred. So speaker, listener, message, and medium, right? So a basic model will have all these, four different things. And then Jacobson explained that model in his own way, to which he called 6 consecutive factors of a speech event. So he says that instead of calling speaker, he calls addresser. Okay, he uses a different word for that. Okay, and to listener, he calls addressee. We are familiar with these words, right? They are not too technical to get confused with. And then he says that apart from message and excuse me, daughter has something included. Just request her to. Just allow me. I'll just.
Okay, sir.
I'm sorry for the interruption. Yeah, so he talks about 6 different consecutive factors. In that one is addresser, the other is addressee, and you have context. Any communication takes place in a context, right? You are aware of that fact. It's a very normal phenomenon. It's not too technical to not understand it. So any communication happens in a context. So context matters. So he takes context as another factor, which is important in a speech event. And then he says code and message as well as content. Okay. So coming to a message, whatever we are trying to communicate is a message. Whatever is communicated from point A to point B or person A to person B, that is what is messages. And since that message is sent in a language, right? If you are taking human communication, now I am communicating with you, right? I am point A, you are point B. I am addresser, you are addressee, right? And whatever I am explaining is the message. But in order to explain that message, I am using certain language. So that language is nothing but a code. Why it is a code? Because if you do not know English, you cannot understand. It's as simple as that, which means whatever I am saying is said in a code. If you do not know, you cannot decipher. So language is a code. There is a separate topic in your SLM, which explains how language is a code. For example, something is told to you or shown to you written in Chinese. Would you be able to understand the message in that language? No, you cannot. Unless you know the language, you cannot. So which means it's a code. If you know, then only you can decipher. So language is a code. So he also talks about contact. And then he actually again talks about 6 different functions of a language. What kind of role language plays. He says that emotive, referential, poetic, phatic, metalingual, and conative. These are very simple things which are explained in a very, what you say, simpler manner in the SLM. You please go through that. And if you come across any point which you don't understand, we'll take it up in the next classes. Okay. So this was the topic 5, important topic 5. From my point of view, it may or may not come in examination. I'm not telling you that this is the sure shot questions that you find in examination. No, that is not what I'm trying to do here. Since I'm teaching these papers for the last 3 years, so I realize that there are some topics that are quite often repeated in the examinations. So I'm just trying to highlight those things. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So now we are going to talk about topic 6, that is communicative competence and speaking model. Okay. So this question also is asked multiple times. Speaking model. It is actually given by Delheims. It's on page number 32 in your SLM. Are you able to look at that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this particular concept of speaking model has come up in response to Jacobson's model. Okay, so if you are talking about a speaking model, you can also bring in the model that is given by Jacobson's and say that Delheims actually proposed this model of model which he called speaking. It's nothing but an acronym. S stands for setting and scene, P stands for participant, E stands for ends, A stands for act sequence, K stands for key, I stand for instrumentalities, N for norms of interaction and interpretation, and G stands for genre. So he creates an acronym speaking, and he explained different factors actually. Right? Since Jacobson talks about 6 different factors in a speech event, so Delheim comes and says that there are different factors which can be remembered as speaking as an acronym, and he explains each of these 6 factors. Okay, so this was the topic 6. We'll move on to page number 36. Okay, on page number 36, you have the concept called language as a social fact, and language as a social identity. Out of these 2, I think language as a social identity is more important. But when you are talking about social identity, language as a social identity, you can also bring in a few points from language as a social fact. I'll try to give a brief about these 2. For example, if a child comes into this world, where he learns the language in his house surroundings, right?
From society.
Yeah. So that starts from his own family and neighborhood, right? So his home and his neighborhood is the microcosm of the larger society. So language can be learned from the society, and it is society that influences language. So the relation is a two-way. Okay, language is responsible for what society does, and what society does is actually influences what language is. So it's a two-way relation. Okay, so that is why that's a very very fundamental basic idea I'm trying to convey to prove the point that language is a social fact. There is a very interesting sentence given in page number 37. If you are able to locate it, please do so. It is referred to, it is actually attributed to Hudson, who says that speech is an instrument of socialization, and at the same time, speech is a product of socialization too. So, in your answer on language as a social identity or social act, you can bring in this definition, which is attributed to Mr. Hudson. Okay, and when it comes to language as a social identity, I have talked about this earlier as well, multiple times. For example, if you speak Telugu, right? Somebody who's aware of Telugu would immediately identify which part of the Andhra you come from. Okay, when I'm saying Andhra, it is actually undivided Andhra. So in undivided Andhra, there are three different major regions, okay, where language is spoken differently. For example, one region is Telangana, the other is Coastal Andhra, one more is Rayalaseema. So though the language is same, yeah. So though the language is same, the language is not spoken in the same way in three different parts. Okay. So based on your language, some people can identify which part of the
accent differs from part to part.
Yeah, please let me continue. Yeah, so not only region can be identified based on your language, your culture can also be identified, which is whether you have you are a follower of certain religion or not, whether you are educated or not, right? All these things can be identified based on your usage of the language, isn't it? So your language is actually your identity. It's like your passport, right? Based on passport, a person's nationality can be identified. Similarly, based on the usage of your language, a lot of social facts, social profile can be identified. Okay, so this was the another important topic, that is topic 7. Okay. I'm rushing, as you know, we have 20 topics to discuss, and we are just at 8th topic now, which is on page number 49. Okay, in the next half an hour or so, we have to finish all marking or highlighting all important questions. So that's why I'm rushing. Okay, so on page number 49, what is the topic? Can you tell me?
Ambiguity as literary language.
Very good, very good, very good. Okay, so ambiguity, right? Ambiguity. There are two possible questions that may come based on these. Okay, one particular straightforward question would be on William Emerson's 7 different ambiguities. Okay, William Emerson, a British writer and thinker, he talks about 7 possible ambiguities. Okay, that you can find in the explanation itself, and it's very simple. You may be asked about all these 7 different types of ambiguity. If the question is on Emerson's ambiguity, you write about that. Even if it is just on ambiguity, you write about William Emerson and his 7 different types of ambiguities. First, you have to define what ambiguity is. Then talk about 7 different types of possible ambiguities. That is
where are the 7 types, sir?
It is within the explanation, which is actually in 3 different paragraphs on page number 49.
Okay, sir.
And 50. Okay, so it's clearly explained in a very simple way, so you can find it in your SLM. Yeah, so we'll move on to topic 9. So after ambiguity, I'm going to topic 9. Okay. That is denotative and connotative. This question was asked previously as well. So what is denotative and what is connotative? So denotative and connotative can be understood in a very simple way. For example,
where is it, sir?
It's on page number 50. Okay, are you able to? Are you able to look at it on page number 50?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this concept of denotative and connotative is basically explained by multiple people. Among them are William K. Wimsatt, right, and I.A. Richards and Stevenson. Okay, these are a few people who actually try to talk about these things in their works. And denotative is nothing but the literal meaning of something. If I say Mamdi Kaya, it only means Mamdi Kaya, which means I'm referring to the fruit, which is mango. But connotative means meaning beyond the literal one. Okay, so we do these practice. We do
So
use
connotative
language.
means
Something which is more than the denotative, more than the literal one. The interpretative possibilities. And for few things, there could be multiple meanings. If I say can, what do you understand? If I say can, what do you understand?
One meaning is a tin container, can.
Yeah, container.
And the other meaning is can, could. You can do it, you will do it, work type.
do something.
Yeah, it implies your ability, right?
Ability, yes, sir.
Yeah. So now there are two different meanings of it, right? So in language, it happens that at word level or at sentence level, you mean something and you say something, and there is possibility of multiple meanings behind it. And that is how we also create pun and we also create humor out of that. Okay. So to understand it very simply, denotative meaning is the literal meaning of something, and connotative is the interpretative meaning, right? That is beyond the literal one. Okay. Yeah. So this is something is again asked multiple times. So you please go through that. It's very just 2 to 3 paragraphs given in your SLM, and you may be able to understand it easily. Okay. Then you should be in a position to write about any of the literary devices or figures of speech. May it be irony, may it be ambiguity for that matter. Okay, metaphor. So these are a few generally used figures of speech in literature. You must be in a position to define those with suitable examples. Okay. Because in the beginning I told you that language of literature is different from the normal language, right? It is these figures of speech that make what we say literature possible. Okay? This is specialized usage of language that is responsible for the literature. So in literature, we make use of metaphor, we make use of simile, we make use of irony, all these different literary devices. If it is asked, you should be in a position to write about it. Okay. We are done with the 9. So I'm jumping to topic 10 on page number 54. Are you on page number 54 now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll allow me to sip some water. Thank you so much. Yeah, so on page number 54, you have this concept of Plato on literature. Yeah, so when you are talking about the role of literature in a society, or what Plato thinks that should be the role of the poetics, right? Or he uses the word poetics, and which means actually literature, not poetry. Remember this. Whenever there is a Plato and Aristotle, when they are saying poetics, P-O-E-T-I-C-S, poetics, it means literature. Okay, so as a philosopher, they said that there is certain role that is assigned to a literature, that a literature must perform. So according to Plato thinks that literature is basically something that takes you away from the truth. Okay. I actually explained this in detail in our offline class, but I'll try to summarize here. There are 2 different realms, right? 2 different worlds. The one world where we are living, okay, and there is another world which is the higher realm, right? We call it heavenly world, right? Where different deities or different angels live. Okay, so there are 2 different words. So Plato also believes in that, and he says that whatever is there in the higher world, right, the world where God resides, is the ultimate reality, is the ultimate truth. God is the ultimate truth, basically, right? If there is something that is ultimate truth, that is God. Now, from there, if you come to this word, right, you have an objective reality around you. Like tree, you see a tree, you see a mountain, you see a river, you see a lot of things around you. Those are objective reality, which you can see, which we can perceive, which we can feel and all. But then there is another one that is created in your work. For example, if I am writing a short story and I am describing about say the Plato in our region, right, in Telangana, the Plato and different waterfalls and all. If I am writing about that in my short story, so what Plato says that in doing so, I am actually moving away from the reality, because the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth is the God Himself, right? And what you are seeing around you is the second copy. And you, as a person who's observing the phenomena around you, the objective reality around you, and talking about it. So your ability to perceive that and create an image in your mind is third. And when you are writing about it, it will be fourth. So there are 4 different copies. That is, first actually is the ultimate truth, that is God. And second is the objective reality around you, that is the second copy of the ultimate. The third copy is your ability to perceive it and create an image in your mind, that is the third one. And when you write, you actually create from your mind the image that is there in your mind. You are trying to recreate it in the form of an art, in the form of text, right, image or text, whatever, okay, through literature. So that would be the fourth one. So in doing so, you are actually taking people away from the ultimate truth. That is the one charge that is leveled against the writers, right? Against the poets, right? Poets are nothing but writers. Like poetics means literature. So here poets means the one who writes, writers. Okay. So that is why that is one of the reasons why Plato says that poets should be banned. And another charge against poets from Plato is that they are the one who stoke emotions. Okay. Instead of appealing to the reason, they actually stoke the emotions of the readers. So that is also the reason why the poet should be banned. But then comes Aristotle. He says no, it is actually literature which helps in catharsis, right? Purgation of the emotions. For example, if you are in a system which crushes you, if you are in a system which doesn't takes care of you well, then what happens? That feeling, that emotion would be there, right? That would be there, and that requires neutralization. That requires cleansing. So what Aristotle says that it is literature which helps in actually cleansing those emotions, which helps in what we say purgation. Okay. How he says that if you watch a drama, right, and you see that one normal person from a very humble background, as a hero, he comes and fights the unjust system and eventually wins over that. So that gives you a very good feeling, and as a result of that, the bad experience that you have had in reality from an unjust system is actually cleansed. Now you go home happy and you take a deep sleep because your emotions are cleansed. So that's what Aristotle says. If you read the explanation given in your SLM, it would make much more sense. Okay, so I have actually try to explain the general idea behind what Plato says should be the role of the literature and words, and what the response that is given by Aristotle, his student, his disciple. Okay, so this is another important concept number 10. Yeah, so the response of Aristotle to the Plato is actually a topic 11. And what we discussed that the literature helps us in cleansing the emotions, and it actually is related to catharsis. Okay, so if you go through that, you will understand in detail. Catharsis is nothing but purgation, which helps in cleansing the emotions. It's a technical term that is used by Aristotle. Then we jump to topic 12, which is on page number 62. I told you about poetic devices, literary figures of speech.
Sir, in this lesson, these two questions are only important, sir. 7.2, 7.3.
Yeah, those two are. What should be the role of literature according to Plato, and what response Aristotle gives to the charges that is leveled by Plato is a chapter topic number 11, that is catharsis. Okay. So coming to topic 12, it's on page number 62. It's about different poetic devices. You call it poetic devices, you call it literary devices, you call it figures of speech. They are all same. Okay, don't get confused. So in this, you have alliteration and onomatopoeia, imagery and symbolism, association, and irony. Okay, alliteration is nothing but the repetition of consonant sound. Right. If you are familiar with different rhymes, you know that ba ba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, yes sir. So many blacks, right? So in that ba ba, as a consonant sound is repeating, right? Ba, black, right? So fool, wool, this kind of repetitions are there. So that kind of repetition is called alliteration. And onomatopoeia is actually another poetic device, which means reproduction of the actual sound in the piece of literature. May it be a poetry or prose. Okay. For example, the pet cat that I have in my home gives me a warm welcome whenever I come home from the work in the form of meow meow. So when I'm using this meow meow, this kind of usage of the language, where I'm reproducing the actual sound in the literature. So that technique is called onomatopoeia. Okay. Okay. Then you have alliteration and onomatopoeia are over. Imagery and symbolism is there. We have 15 more minutes. Okay. Imagery is nothing but if you read any piece of literature, whether prose or poetry, as a result of reading that, if you are able to form an image in your mind, it means that writer has used imagery as a technique there. He or she, as a writer, gives a detailed description of something, and as a result of that, an image is formed of you. If I talk about mango, right? In so fine and minute detail that you are able to form an image of that in your mind, like fluffy, juicy, with a dark yellow texture. Voice is not coming.
Yes, sir, we are audible, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, so if you read a few lines of poetry and able to form an image in your mind as a result of reading that, then that means their imagery as a technique has been used. Okay, as a literary device has been used. And symbolism would be there, right? Symbols right? Whenever, if you, what we say?
Sir, what about association, sir?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. I am not yet done with, what we say, symbolism. If you go to page number 63, we are discussing that here. Okay. Where is that? Yes. Where are we?
Maybe third paragraph, sir.
In symbolism, you can underline this line. In imagery, any description of an object, either living or dead, which presents a picture before your eyes is an image, right? And use of this technique is called imagery. Are you able to locate this line, which is starting from?
No, sir.
Line?
In which para? Sir?
In the first paragraph, it is the third line. Any description of an object.
Yes, sir. We found.
Are you able to do that? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now coming to symbols, right? If you have read King Lear, right? In King Lear, there is a storm. Right?
Yes, sir. We remember the lesson which was in first.
In that particular work, storm has been used as a symbol by Shakespeare. Right? The storm signifies disturbance, right? Catastrophe, right?
Yes, sir. King Lear's situation.
Yeah. So symbols are at times used in literature to signify a lot more things, right? Which you would not be otherwise able to explain. But that one symbol would help us to encompass much wider meaning that you want to convey. Okay. So yeah, that's what is actually mean symbols. And now yeah, coming to association, you please mark this line. The words or objects in poetry have their meaning and significance based primarily on their association. One of the best examples of association is cited in Mr. Caroline Spurgeon's study of Shakespeare with dogs. A dog licking candy, sugar, sweets, or even the hands of guests is a rather messy fashion in Elizabethan times, I believe. Irritated Shakespeare. Flatterers and sycophants bowing to the rich nobleman with a selfish motive were hated by Shakespeare, and hence the dramatist always associated these people in his mind with dogs, licking candies, or such other sweetmeats. This kind of association results in Julius Caesar rejecting the request of Metellus Cimber, one of the conspirators, thus, sweet words, look crooked, courtesies and base spaniel fawning. Thy brother by decree is banished. If thou dost bew and pray and fawn for him, I spurn thee like a cur out of my way. Yeah, so basically association is in case of the example provided in your text, dog has certain tendencies, that is, it licks, especially, of its master, whether it's candy or whether the hands, right? So similarly, there is another practice, that is, the people who are flatterers, right? Sycophants. We see a lot of sycophants these days around politician, right? If there is a one powerful politician, there will be a lot of people around him. Sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, right? So those people are called sycophants. So they go to any extent to do anything that the boss wants. So similar, this one phenomena is actually associated with the other phenomena. That dog licking is associated with sycophancy by Shakespeare. So this association is actually a technique. As a technique, it is used in literature. I hope you are able to understand it. Then you have irony, right? Which is nothing but you say something and mean something else. Right. So it's quite clear.
Julius Caesar is actually about a public speaking in which Antony gives his speech, no, sir?
Yes.
So why you are taking the example of this?
Which?
Julius Caesar, sir.
That example is given in your text on page number 63.
Yeah, yes.
That's why I have cited that example. If it's already provided in your
course, is actually involved only in Mark Antony's speech.
But that speech is different. This is different.
But this is completely different.
Yeah, that's different. That's different. This is different. Okay. Brutus is an honorable man. That speech is different, and that's altogether a different story. We'll talk about that some other time. Okay, then you have metaphor and metaphor. Comparing two dissimilar things is actually metaphor. If you are going for a direct comparison, so it's a metaphor. If it is comparing two things using like and as, it's a simile. Okay, we remember that. And if it is asked in the examination, talk about it. Okay. So because we are done with 12. So I have not marked, actually this topic, but I think, okay, let's skip this one. Yeah. So if you jump to page number 86, you'll find topic 13, okay, which is important. On page number 13, you have this concept of author, text, and the reader. In the previous classes, we have talked about this, right? Different roles when it comes to a text, right? And one of the questions that was asked multiple times is the concept of death of the author by Roland Barthes. If you attended my last lecture or a lecture before that, you would know what this means. Okay, I'll not talk about this.
Sir, would you repeat the page numbers?
It's on page number 86. Death of the author by Barthes. Just before second paragraph, 3 or 4 lines before that, there is a name, death of the author. It's actually an essay by Roland Barthes, and he gives this concept of author.
Yes, sir. On first paragraph from down, it was 4th line. Sir.
So this topic we actually discussed recently. If you are not able, if you couldn't attend that, please check the YouTube link of our lectures, and you'll find it. Okay, I don't want to discuss it again. So that was topic 13. So coming to topic 14, we have only 10 or 12 minutes left, so I will try to go as fast as possible. On page number 88, you have topic 14, right? Structuralism and post-structuralism. These are two different philosophical concepts. And coming to structuralism, we have had one lecture on that. A detailed lecture on that. Maybe post-structuralism something we can still discuss that. Possibly in April lectures we'll talk about that. Okay. So make a note of that. It's on page number 14. So there are two different topics actually: structuralism and post-structuralism. Within 14, 2. It may be asked as a short answer or as a long answer. If it is asked as a long answer, you have to go in detail about that. Or else, you can briefly give the idea behind the structuralism. And as a topic number 15, we have Derrida's notion of language. This also I'll take up in one of the classes in April. Okay, remind me of these two things: post-structuralism and Derrida's concept of his notion of language. Then you have okay, whenever you're talking about structuralism, please bring in the concept of sign, signifier, and signified. Okay. A clear more explanation is provided on page number 103 about depth of the author. You can refer that for question number 13, I guess. Yeah, for question number 13, for topic number 13, you can refer more details on page number 103, linguistics and the depth of the author. Okay. And regarding post-structuralism, you can refer page number 112. For post-structuralism, again, it is related to topic 13. Structuralism, topic 14, structuralism, post-structuralism. Regarding post-structuralism, you can refer to page number 112. Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so much. Further, more detail is available on page number 124 for post-structuralism. That can also be taken into consideration. And don't worry, I'll discuss about post-structuralism in detail in one of the classes. We'll dedicate one class for post-structuralism. Okay. And you have important topic number 16 on page number 135 under narratology. Any question on narratology or Gerald Prince, right? You please.
Sir, in page number 135?
Yeah, 135. The question is on narratology. Okay. Narratology, narrative, narrators, whatever is the keyword, you have to write from here. That is, first you have to define what is narrative, right, which is defined by Gerald Prince as the representation of at least two real or fictive events or situations in a time sequence, neither of which presupposes or entails the other. Okay. So narratology, on narratology, you have to give this definition of narrative. Okay. And also mention the name of the books, okay, in which they have explained this concept of narratology. Gerald Prince has explained the concept of narratology in the book, which is Narratology, the Form and Function of Narrative. You please underline these lines on page number 135 in first paragraph. In second paragraph, you have this an introduction to the structural analysis of narrative by Ronald Barthes. Okay. And he says that there are countless forms of narrative in the world.
So you're moving too fast. So in first paragraph?
In first paragraph, please underline Gerald Prince and his book, Narratology, the Form and Functioning of Narrative, and also the definition he has provided. And in paragraph 2, an introduction to the structural analysis of narrative by Ronald Barthes. And he says that there are countless forms of narrative in the world. This definition. And coming to chief components of the narrative, we talked about that in detail in our first class. Right? There is a narrator, narrative, narration. And coming to narrators, there are different types of narrator: first person narrator, second person, third person. And coming to point of view, you have again different points of view also. So all those things can be discussed when it comes to narratology. Narratology is nothing but the study of the narratives. Okay. Understood? and try to provide one example each for each type of narrative. So with this, topic 16 is over. We have on page number 146 is page numbers. On page number 146, you have topic 17, which we discussed in the previous class, that is yesterday. Structure of a short story and novel. You have to define what short story is, what novel is, and all those things. Are we done with 17?
Yes, the form and technique of a short story and novel is important.
Structure of a short story and novel. Right? Their form and technique will be discussed. You have to define what short story is and what makes a story a short story. And you have to define what novel is and what makes a novel, and what are the elements in that. Right? All those things. We discussed about that in the last class. Okay. Make note of those points and mention that in your answer. Then jump to page number 166. You have 4 different topics within topic number 18. So this is the topic 18, where you have different theories of poetry. Again, these theories are given by Indian philosophers who worked on language and literature. So under 18, you have 4 schools: Priti school, Alankara school, Vakrokti school, and Dhwani school. And also one more, that is 5th one, that is Rasa school. These are also important. What I will do is I'll dedicate one class for these different schools. Okay, so don't worry about that. We'll take it up in April. Okay, it's on page number 166. It starts from 166 and goes.
So there are 2 more schools also in 168.
Total, there are 5 schools. All those 5 schools we'll discuss. Just mark it as topic 18. That's it, we are done. So out of 22 units, we are able to mark 18 important topics which would be relevant from your examination point of view. Okay. I recommend you go through the entire syllabus, but even if you don't get time, you can at least look into these 18 different topics. Okay. Most of which we have already discussed, and especially post-structuralism and Derrida's notion of language, and these different schools, Indian schools of schools about poetry, function of poetry and language, that we'll take up in upcoming classes. Sure. Do you have any questions?
Okay, sir.
And if time permits, we'll revisit any of the possible topics which we have already marked.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you have any questions, you please ask before I close the class for today. No questions?
Sir, a small request. Just like today, if you just sum up some of the other topics also, like after post-structural, we were unable to listen to your classes of block 1, sir, and block 2. You attended online session, that one. In our study center, we didn't have any offline classes, sir. Only these are our prime source. So in the last class, somewhere, wherever it permits, if you just give us a little quick gist of something, that would be quite helpful.
Okay, sure.
Today
sure.
you did really fantastic. So this has really given us an overview of it, complete a picture of it. When you are giving important questions, you elicited really well. It has given a picture. If there are any other doubts, also I would write down some of them and ask you in the last class.
Okay,
And,
thank you. Yeah.
quick overview of it.
Sure. So yeah, we'll meet to know next month as per the schedule. Now I have to actually end the class so that other class can start. So thank you so much. And as per your request, I'll take up to the topics that you couldn't understand or you missed in the upcoming classes. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.